I hope everybody enjoyed tonight's feature film, Metamorphosis in the Slaughterhouse. My name is Jessica Kong, Festival Director of Happy Fest. It is a special honor to be able to conduct an interview with the director of this narrative film. Please welcome Director Javan Daraei. First of all, I want to give a special thank you to your wife for creating our special poster here just for our festival. First off, why did you name your film Metamorphosis in the Slaughterhouse?
In fact, the name of this movie is taken from metamorphic people who put each other in a slaughterhouse. That is, these metamorphic people slaughter each other. The movie was renamed several times from Invalidation to Sinus and eventually Metamorphosis in the slaughterhouse. I feel that this is the right name for this movie, but even if it's difficult to pronounce, but this name in its own way has a suspension that make a person want to see this movie and is very close to this movie.
Where did you get the inspiration for your You mentioned this was based on a true story of a girl who faced a similar level of societal discrimination.
It goes back to my childhood when a boy raped a girl and burned her. After which the boy went to prison, but the girl's family and all neighbors attacked the boy's house and set it on fire. A few years, 6-year-old girl was in a remote town and killed by aggressor. And the whole town attacked the aggressor's house and all his family were forced to leave the city. We know our father deserved to be executed, but we are not guilty, the family said. But people didn't accept, whereas he had arrested, and part of this movie goes back to my personal life, like the event that happened about a chicken.
What kind of story were you hoping to tell? Did you achieve your original vision?
I wanted to write a screenplay about early judgment, something that concerns me today and yesterday. Well, I had several ideas and combined them, and finally I came up with a story that we see. It's taken from real life, but is definitely not from a specific story and a specific place in Iran. And finally, I brought them all to the heart of story, and only I changed the characters. Regarding the story, I didn't get the result I wanted because I encountered a series of problems. In fact, this movie was made in two remote and abandoned villages of Iran, and they were very far apart. At the beginning of the post-production, I was dissatisfied with the atmosphere in these two villages in the movie, and I felt that it was a strong blow to the roots of this movie. It was a low budget and a limit due to the lack of movie license. But in the end, I came to the conclusions that this movie is a scenes from the mind of Shadi. We brought PTSD from mind to image and from image to atmosphere, and the whole village to the mind of Shadi.
You disclosed that many of the scenes in your film are based on personal or real life account stories. First of all, thank you for sharing. The chicken incident was definitely horrific, and I can only imagine the magnitude as a child. Did you know right away you were going to use these real life stories in your script?
Stories from my childhood, well, I didn't know that I would movie them one day because I wasn't familiar with cinema at all. And depending on the traditional situation and environment in the which I grow up, and this movie, it's also derived from the traditional culture in which I grew up in my childhood. All my friends were chickens and birds, and what happened in the story from Shadi and chicken, it's taken from my own chicken, which I ate in the same way. And my brother said this is your own chicken, but there was no wedding. As an artist, especially a filmmaker, I don't know when and where I will capture the very moment I live in. But I will use it if a relevant context is provided, and artist's emotional bank is an opportunity to things which will begin to create work.
And what was your writing process and how long did it take to draft?
In 2017, after my second short film called Limit, I started writing my first feature film script, which was an anti-war story. Then, unfortunately, a film was released that was 70 percent similar to my script. In my opinion, such things happens. It seems that two minds are similar. But here I'm talking about the violation of Iran's copyrights, which has no meaning in Iran. And if I had published a protest in this regard, I would certainly not have gained anything, and I was just wasting time because there is a terrible mafia behind them that will never give you the right, especially those who are affiliated with this system. And I had to change the story, but the character of happiness is the same with PTSD. Escape that in the original version, happiness parents had died in the war. Eventually, I took 2 years, and these events brought me closer to my goal. But it's very difficult to write because I had to work and write a few lines in the middle of work. I work 6 days a week and did not go home at all. I was the director of several programs of TV in Iran, and there I was devoting my free time to the script. I finished it with all the hardship and tiredness, and I'm glad that all those restrictions couldn't prevent the film from being written.
Why did Shadi get the brunt of the discrimination? It seemed in the film there were enough adults that felt a sense of sympathy or pity for her. Was there really nothing or no one, i.e., no laws, programs, etc.? Even the temporary protection from the community leader eventually disappeared after too much pressure from their neighbors.
In Iran, there is a subculture that your family background that influence how others treat you. That is, if you are the child of a gentleman rather than a murderer. People behave differently. There were characters in the film who, if they forget the Shadi's background and were grateful to her, it was for a purpose. Like the head of a village helping Shadi to reach his uncle's wife. All were hypocritical characters except Shadi uncle's wife. But uncle's wife was able to come forward to some extent and from where she saw that her life and her children were in danger. She agreed to remarry and reduce her support for Shadi.
The ending was rather open-ended, as Shadi finally found an ally of sorts with the new teacher, only for her to then accidentally attack the principal. Did you have a different vision for the ending? What do you think happens to Shadi now?
I thought of this ending at the beginning of the story because it was a story of early judgment and I wanted to show the reputation of history. What happened when a date is repeated twice? If we consider the nature of Hitler, who is masquerading the world, if we arrest Hitler and execute him, I feel we will not achieve any result, and maybe another 100 years later, another Hitler phenomenon will happen. Why? Because people couldn't understand how Hitler came to be, and that makes history repeat itself. And we show in this movie that people should be looking for how the child was killed, not seeking revenge, and because of the new teachers fear of what would happen. You know that she know what happened to Shadi's parents when the school gender brings her back. The new teacher kills him, and the voice of the people you heard at the end is the voice of the first people in the film who chanted and killed, and it respects people who don't think at all. In fact, they decide according to the same traditional of thought. And I feel that Shadi is killed at the end of the story. We see that the father of Shadi saved her from the people when they attacked him at the beginning of the film, and threw her in another room. But at the end of the story, there was not one to save her. Shadi was killed by traditional Persian people.
Every year, we are lucky enough to receive many Iranian submissions to our festival. What do you think motivates Iranians filmmaking and other creative arts despite the strict sanctions from the government?
The more censorship and sanctions, the more creative. And these are the eliminations that make up your mind. When it comes to the production, it's like it's like the old days when you took a lot of shots. The aligned film tape would run out, and you would have to record the piece with the list. But today, the creative filmmaker record the film correctly with digital, but the mind is the same analog mind, and they try to capture it in the best way. In any case, sanctions on money and money affect the budget of the film, and this is way low cost films, but full of brains and content are made. My film is completely banned, but I bypass sex censorship, which is punishable by death in Iran. And in this movie, I indirectly show sex and as grotesque with music and sound. When Shadi falls asleep, and his uncle's wife immediately leaves the room, and I feel that Iranians can't cross the line and open a new window on cinema.
What were some of the challenges you faced while making this film?
Unfortunately, because of my short film, the first of which was about the LGBTQ, and the second about the disability person who was being judged early, the government labeled me black, to mean I make Iran black and make its face ugly. And well, these are government labels. That is, though, who are with the people. This government is trying to destroy them, and it's want to put us in front of the people. And his story will violate this in the future. Eventually, I didn't have a license. I had to film in a very short time for a total of 18 days. And I had to record the film in two remote village that different. Also, I didn't dare to film in the street for a few days. And unfortunately, in that village, someone leaked to us, and my camera and equipment were confiscated by the governments. And new and more difficult challenge happened to me. After a while, I had to change a number of factors and start discipline somewhere else too. At that time, I was always giving mezzanine with stress that I might be arrested now. And this I feel was a difficult stage in my filmmaking life, and that was reflected in the film. In the end, I didn't have to money to post of production, and this was the introduction to my collaboration with people who were not even Iranian. I want here to thank Cristiane and Anna from Aid from their support.
This year's festival theme is about raising communities, and your film block's theme was raising youth. What do you hope audiences take away from your film? How can we protect our youth from undergoing this type of scrutiny or discrimination?
I feel that this film is in a good category because I feel that young people should be taught not to judge too soon, even if something happens to a child. Don't tease or scorn him. As for the communities that are central to you this year, I feel again that we are showing the function of the family that is shattered by an intentional murder and ultimately by the quick judgment of the people. And a film was made in Iran a few years ago about a traditional father killing his daughter out of love for a boy and burying her at the home. The Iranian government banned the film and didn't allow to it be shown. And exactly last year, 2020, a traditional father beheaded his daughter with a sickle for loving a boy. The government determines the ideology of the Iranian people, and the only things that cause humanity is just thinking that this government has withheld it from the people.
If the audience would like to watch your film again or share with a friend, how can they view or purchase the film?
Audience can watch it again through my personal site and follow all the news of this movie. And my filmmaking news is available on my site.
Is there any upcoming projects you are currently working on?
My next project is about coronavirus, and I was inspired by coronavirus. But I don't know how it will end. I'm still in the process of writing the script, and this short film is my first English language film, and I will publish the news of the production process and its release on my site.
Javad, thank you again for joining us today. This concludes tonight's Q&A. Audience, if you'd like to follow Javad and get updates on all of his projects, please go to his website, javad.com. This concludes day 2 of HAAPIFEST. Tomorrow's film block will be Raising Parents. 3 special films highlighting parent-children relationships and the bonds that get stronger as children step into the role of more responsibility. Tomorrow's feature will be HAAPIFEST alums Baldwin Chu and Larissa Lamb with their feature Far East Deep South, followed by a live Q&A. You don't want to miss it. Have a great evening.